The police discovered something truly horrifying in my backyard last night. I promise I had nothing to do with it. They woke me up with heavy knocks and red-blue light bleeding through the curtains, 3 officers on the porch and a neighbor peeking from behind their blinds. Someone had reported scratching under the house. I signed whatever they shoved at me and stood there in socks while they swept the yard with flashlights, beams cutting through the cold. It didn't take long. "Hey, there's a gap back here," one of them called. I followed to the edge of the porch, where the lattice should have been solid. Up close, there was a rough cut, a dark slit in the dirt where the boards had been pulled back and set carefully in place again. "Did you know about this?" an officer asked. I didn't. They didn't look like they believed me. One slid in on his stomach, light disappearing into the ground. Another knelt, hand on his radio, listening. There was a muffled exhale from under the house then. "There's a tunnel, it curves." They told me to stay put. More lights, more low voices. The longer they were down there, the worse the air felt, like the whole backyard was holding its breath. Finally someone said, "You should see this," and waved me down. The earth was cold and damp under my palms as I crawled in. The tunnel was narrow, just enough room for a person to squeeze through. It didn't lead away from the property. It bent slowly inward, tracing along the foundation like it was following the shape of the house, circling rather than escaping. It opened into a small, crouch-high chamber dug right under my home. Their flashlights crossed and steadied, revealing the room in pieces. Packed down dirt, scratch marks along the walls where someone had braced themselves, and then objects. Clusters of children's things laid out with deliberate spacing. A tiny sneaker, long outgrown. A plastic lunchbox with faded characters. A stuffed toy missing an eye, fur worn thin where it had been held too tight. More, scattered in careful islands. Toys, bracelets. Nothing piled, nothing random. Each thing had its own small place, as if someone wanted them all to be noticed individually. The officers went very quiet. One of them said, "We need to get detectives down here," in a voice that wasn't really meant for me. Another started snapping photos, moving slow. "You said you just moved here a few years ago?" An officer asked without looking up. "Yes." "You ever see anyone in your yard? Kids? Teenagers?" "No." His flashlight swept past me and caught on a scuffed edge of plastic. "You sure about that?" he asked. They started talking about unsolved cases, old reports, kids missing. Back outside, the night had teeth. More cars, more lights, neighbors' faces pale and curious behind curtains. Someone drew yellow tape around my yard. They asked me to sit on the back step while they made calls. At the station, the questions were less careful. "Do you know any of these kids? Have you ever gone by any other name? How long have you lived in this town?" They laid photos on the table. Objects, not faces. "That sneaker, that toy, that lunchbox. You've never seen these before?" they asked. My throat closed. My fingers twitched toward them and stopped. I kept saying, "I don't understand," because it was the only thing that felt true. Every time I opened my mouth, the words fell apart halfway out. They watched me sweat, stumble, lose track of my own answers. I could see what they saw. A tunnel under my porch, a hidden room, children's things arranged like trophies. A backyard no one else had keys to. I didn't sleep in the whole